Welcome everyone, this is Art Appreciation. We are now moving past your Banksy project and coming up with a stencil. Notice that when you had to create a stencil, the idea was to try to do something unique with it, like look at a new font and try to replicate it or come up with your very own font. And then you cut it out carefully so you don't lose certain areas that fall off. You should have done that by now. You should have spray painted it onto a canvas by now. I hope you watched the video to follow all the steps to that. Now we're moving on to our final project, and the project is hard to explain. Really, it's just your branding project. We'll just call this the branding project. Let's begin with the notion of good logos and bad logos. The first activity to get started on this project is to find a logo that you disapprove of, that you dislike. For me, it's this New Balance logo. I don't know what it is about it, but I can't stand it. So New Balance is pretty well known, a sport apparel company. You should know by now. On shoes, it's this gigantic N, and I'm sure you've seen it. It's just boom, 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 typically on the side of a shoe. So even that to me is just like visual spit up, and I feel like every time I see that logo, I want to fix it. So your project is to find a logo that you also disapprove of, that you don't like, and what you want to do is reinvent it in some way. So one thing you're going to have to do is find out what that company is all about. So in this case, New Balance. What you want to do is maybe Google New Balance, and also find out what they're all about. So maybe you go to their website. If that doesn't give you anything, then you might want to type in Wikipedia. Not that Wikipedia is the best source to find things, but right here it says New Balance Athletics, best known as simply New Balance, is an American multinational corporation based out of Brighton, neighborhood of Boston, Massachusetts. Even just knowing that it's from Boston gives me some ideas. The company was founded in 1906 as the New Balance Arch Support Company and is one of the world's major sport footwear manufacturers. Okay, so it was meant to have arch support, and I think that's where the New Balance word comes from. I don't think there's anything more besides that. So here's a little bit of history. It says that his first product, a flexible arch support, was designed with 3 support points to provide greater balance and comfort in the shoe. It is believed that Riley came up with the New Balance by observing chickens in his yard, and that demonstrated the way his arch supports worked by keeping a chicken foot on his office desk. He explained to customers that the chicken's 3-pronged foot resulted in perfect balance. Okay, cool. So now I'm going to start sketching. The goal here is to figure out obviously a chicken foot would probably not be a good logo. Maybe it might be. Yes, I just drew that. There you go, kind of like that. Reminds you like a Spartan helmet or a trident. Even just messing with the letter N and B, it's got to be a better way to display it. Anyway, so you got NB. What about, here's the balance. Let's overlap them. like it a little better. I don't know if you guys can see that. So playing around with this logo, the goal is to come up with a better logo for that company. This is just an exercise, not your actual project. So don't spend 6 days trying to come up with a new logo. Just play around with it, see what happens when you investigate. That's pretty nice. I don't know. When you're done with it, what I want you to do is just finalize it with Sharpie, with pen, with color pencils, whatever is required for you to looks like an E. I didn't like that one. But notice how I'm keeping all of my designs here just on paper, just goofing around. So the best way to start drawing this activity is to create, either just start writing or start drawing. Don't think about it too much. Ooh, how about this? Yin Yang represents balance, right? So what if we incorporated, there's the N. There's an N and a B, kind of done in a yin-yang style. I wouldn't have discovered that if I wouldn't have drawn a circle. So notice how the circle gave me an idea. So this is what I want you to do, is just kind of goof around with the potential lettering. Nothing's going to get done if you just stare at a piece of paper. So just start drawing, start goofing around until a better logo appears for that logo that you're trying to fix. Alright, for your actual project, so the goal of your actual project is to, one second, let me find a piece of paper. The goal of your actual project is to design your logo, meaning you need to brand yourself. Create your own brand. To begin that process, what I want you to do is identify identify who you are. Like, what are the things that define you? Secondly, is there a symbol in your life that represents you? Symbols are really cool. You know, for me, there's a few that kind of represent me. Obviously, like art materials, art supplies. I'm an art teacher, by the way. I have you know, an affinity for crows. I really like crows. I have a son and a daughter, but you know, that's pretty cool. But I don't think those are like symbols. Those are just my kids. How about running shoes? If you guys don't know this, I love running. Oh, whoops. Just because I was saying the word running, I rewrote the word running. Running shoes. I like to travel, so any kind of like travel, like the globe or a little airplane or something. Those are all symbols that represent me. Who am I? I'm a father, a son. Holy, no, I'm just kidding. I'm a husband, artist, teacher, lifelong learner. I'm still learning every day. Hope you guys are too. Alright, so those are all things that I am. From here, I'm going to just start drawing symbols. If you have any questions, you could ask people like Itzel, who's already like halfway done with this project. But you'll see that some people will get some amazing ideas early on. Some people will not get there so quickly. So now let's talk examples. This right here isn't related to a personal brand, but let me just show you. What I do is I design logos and emblems for people sometimes. This is the sketch done by a customer, a potential customer that I had, and his company is called Main Stem Research. Main Stem Fish Research, meaning so the meaning is important. He studies and helps people study fish all along the Columbia and other rivers and lakes and stuff. And so he has a bunch of fishing boats and all sorts of electronic equipment to track fish, catch fish, release fish, etc. So his company deals with fish. And main stem is a term that represents the main rivers that all of the little rivers go to and become a big river. So like the Mississippi River has a lot of tiny little rivers going to it, and that's why it's so filled with water. Same thing with the Columbia River. So what you have here is his doodle. He kind of pictured a fish swimming upstream with rocks and maybe little fish kind of swimming through there. And this was his amazing sketch. So my very first sketch, I believe, was this one. You can see a big fish going up the river. I was thinking, salmon swim upward to go to Canada to spawn. And then downriver are the little baby fish that swim down river all the way to the ocean to mature. For some reason, they turn into saltwater fish, and then 3 to 5 years later, they return up the river to produce their own babies and then die, and then the cycle continues. Then I drew this one right here because I just kind of thought it'd be really fun to mess with. A fish jumping out of water. I also drew this one, but it was too crazy, too abstract for me and for the customer. I drew this one using M, F, and R because Main Stem Fish Research was, it's the name of the company. Didn't really like it, so I moved on. And this came from this idea of drawing just a circle and a fish head in it. Here's, I'm just going to fly through ideas after idea after idea. I actually really liked that one, but we didn't keep it. Water swirls. I'm going to rotate this one a little bit so you can see these a little bit better. This one was kind of cool, but a little too, it felt like Silverwood. It felt like a sign to a roller coaster ride or something. Back here you had like a really fat hand. It looked too Diego Rivera-ish. I don't know if you guys know what that means, but it's an artist. Kind of like this one was a little splashy. The overhead look was pretty cool. And that idea comes back later. Here's kind of his original idea. I don't know if it's kind of faint, but you can see a fish swimming up the river, another fish swimming around this rock. So this is rock, river, and water. But it's just more and more and more and more ideas. I'm going to re-rotate this notebook. So let's see. So you got like a Da Vinci style approach here of like measuring a fish to get its mathematics. Up and downstream. I was stuck with like the up and downstream idea. Here's a fish jumping out of water. Here's a couple fish swimming around the M. Kind of a yin-yang approach, huh? Just like a landscape, beautiful picturesque mountain and trees and river. Like that idea. Didn't like this so much. I did and I didn't. I came back to it, didn't I? Just a couple of the other ideas of cutting the fish into an M. Same thing. Colors. Fish. Fish. More fish. So understand that design takes time. And here are like my last few ideas before we came up with a final idea. So I was really liking where this one was going. Kind of liking the flow of water too. Didn't like that one at all. So I was kind of onto something here, and I was really kind of obsessing over like how do I just get some abstract rectangles within the space. And then there's that idea again, kind of reminiscent of one of the first ideas, if you remember the third idea that I did. Sorry. Kind of reminiscent of this one. Lastly, I drew this fish and then that fish. And my potential customer absolutely loved this one here, and we ended up keeping it. So that's that goes to show that sometimes ideas your first, second, third, 10th, 20th idea may not be your best idea, but sometimes it gets you on the right track. To be honest, that first idea, I sketched this, maybe it was my 7th or 8th idea overall, and this is kind of what he ended up liking. So that's what I did. So maybe I didn't sketch the 50 sketches beforehand, but you won't know until you sketch a bunch what you really like. And here were other renditions of the same sketch before we decided on the final. But we had like little fish swimming underneath. You have the white, black, fully colored fish, black and white colored fish. Anywho, and then here we have a new design for a new potential customer. We ended up with this one, but we had different variations of the same idea before we committed to one. So this is what you're going to do. You're going to take your brainstormed questions or responses to my questions. Who are you? And lastly, are there any symbols that represent you? Write those down, and then you can begin sketching. I want to see maybe a total of 10 sketches before you begin on your final. So you begin on a piece of paper, and I want you to just start drawing things that represent you. So for me, I said like running shoes, and so here I have, here I have a shoe, a poorly drawn shoe, but you get the point. I'm sketching. Pencil, pen, paintbrush. To be honest, I don't like this idea. It's a little on the what you call cliche. A little too cliche for me. But it's an idea, so I'm going to leave it there. What is the definition of cliche? Cliche is like too expected, I guess is a way to say it. It's like the most obvious, most overly done, most like a 10-year-old could have came up with this if they like running and paintbrushes and pencils and drawing and stuff. They could have assembled this together. So it's just too expected for me. So some of the other things that I identified with being is like a lifelong learner, a traveler. So what if I did something with the globe? So that's me drawing the globe. Oh, these things have like a little pole like that. So I'm just going to be drawing some ideas here. I like crows, so something to do with crows. For most of you, I recommend, for all of you, I would recommend looking up pictures of these things so you have a better idea of what they look like. If you draw off the top of your head, you're just going to get frustrated. You're going to be like, well, I can't draw. That's because you don't have a reference in front of you. Try a reference. You can't draw something, fix that problem by finding a reference, a picture, an actual picture of it. So here's a crow. I don't like that. Oh, but I would like this. Again, find a reference. I want him looking downwards, but I don't think I can do that. There you go. Sorry. And here you go, you have a crow looking down at a globe. Makes it feel like he's wanting to travel, but he has no money, which is such a true story. So here you go. I like that. We're only on sketch number 3 though, so I'm going to keep going. So how many sketches do you want? So a total of 10 sketches. Total of 10 sketches. Okay, so the final thing that I want to say about all of this is that when you're all done with your 10 sketches, you have to finalize this somehow. So stay tuned and I'll show you how to pick your favorite sketch and put it on a final piece of paper. Thanks.